The wedding ceremony was minutes from starting when Liam was called away by a phone call. The reason? His white moonlight Sophie had twisted her ankle. Sophie has no family here in the States, I have to take her to St. Anne's Hospital. I had lost count of how many times Liam had abandoned me for Sophie. This time I didn't sulk the way I used to. Instead I speed-dialed my childhood sworn brother. Julian, my wedding is short a groom, will you come? Wait for me. Julian hung up after those 2 words. Listening to the dial tone beep, I sat frozen. Had I been too impulsive? Julian might be my Riley, but we hadn't spoken in 3 years. While I was still scolding myself, Dad pushed open the dressing room door. Raven, the processional starts in 5, where's Liam? I hesitated, then told him the truth. Sophie twisted her ankle, he took her to St. Anne's. Inside I felt oddly calm after so many reruns, I was almost used to it. But Dad, who had steered the Vance empire through every storm, exploded. Right now? Outside are every titan of Riverdale finance. If the groom's missing, the Vance name is humiliated. That Rue girl matters this much. Today is your wedding, he was shouting when memory hit him. He exhaled sharply. Forget it, better no wedding at all. Even if the family loses face, I won't watch you spend your life bending like today. I was the Vance's crown jewel. I'd rarely bent for anyone until these 3 years with Liam. Dad, the groom is on his way, only it won't be Liam, it'll be Julian. Dad and Julian's father had been Marine buddies, then partners in shipping. Our families were inseparable. Julian and I were born weeks apart. We rolled in the same playpen, a textbook Riley match. Both sets of parents had banked on us ending up together until Liam appeared. Unlike Julian's Ice King silence, Liam radiated warmth. We met as Crawford interns, craving cheesecake from the opposite side of town. He'd jog 6 blocks to get it. My period due. Red Date ginger tea would already be steaming on the counter. He knew my palate, my playlists, my moods always materialized whenever I needed. Riley years, Mom and Dad were always abroad on business. A caring son like Liam became my drug. I once believed the rest of my life would glow exactly like that until Sophie stepped off the plane. That day I was twirling in my wedding gown, deliriously happy. Liam said an old classmate had landed, knew nobody here, needed picking up. Her family had crashed, parents gone, utterly alone, pitiful, he said. I'd waved him off benevolently, take care of her. From that day the ghost calls never stopped. She needed movers, a doctor, a handyman, always a reason to summon Liam. I met Sophie at Liam's class reunion. That party handed me the X-ray of her bones. She slid into the seat beside him, piling food on his plate as if she were the fiancé. Annoyed, I excused myself to the powder room. Walking back, I paused outside the door, laughter leaked through. Liam, you've got your fiancé on the left, white moonlight on the right, Riverdale's luckiest man. If Sophie hadn't flown to Munich back then, there'd be no fiancé story today. Come on, who wins, white moonlight or fiancé? Liam neither defended me nor denied them. He only murmured, fiancé can't hold a candle to white moonlight. I froze. Something inside me snapped clean, then hollowed into silence. As I wavered, the door swung open. Sophie. She started, then smiled, victorious. Raven, guess who Liam will believe, you or me? Before I decoded her, she yelped, crumpling to the floor. Liam and I really are nothing, why can't you believe me, Raven? She clutched her ankle, eyes shimmering. I didn't. Blank, I looked to Liam and iced over. His eyes were glacier, laced with accusation. Raven, you disappoint me. He lifted Sophie, voice low yet suffocating. He believed her, left me the sitting duck. Snuggled in his arms, she whimpered, don't be angry, Liam. I'm fine, don't let me ruin you too. He glanced down, all pity, hang on, I'll run you to St. Anne's. My eyes burned. You don't believe me? He glared as if I were a stubborn, lying child. I've known Sophie longer than you. I know exactly what kind of person she is. That night I became the party's punchline. That night I learned Sophie outweighed me, by tons. I turned twisted, clinging to 3 years of memories, throwing tantrums each time he chose her, then letting him coax me back. Until today, our wedding, when the groom bolted again for Sophie's SOS. I stared into the mirror, supposedly the day's brightest star, yet all I saw was a circus clown. I was wrong, absurdly wrong. This was never a bidding war. It was a multiple choice. I thought Sophie scored higher. No. Whichever circle Liam shaded, Sophie was the only correct answer. Realizing that, I felt oxygen flood back into my lungs and tears flood out. Why the tears, marrying me that unbearable? At the beloved voice I lifted my head. In the glass Julian's handsome reflection loomed. He was still panting, fresh from some boardroom, razor-sharp suit, silk tie, iceberg aura intact. 3 years absent, still the same perfection. Since he took the helm, Sterling had eclipsed even the Vance fleet. Julian now perched atop Riverdale's pyramid. Someone of his stature should wed an equal, not a runaway bride. I hung my head like a truant kid. Sorry, impulse call. Marriage isn't a joke, if you'd rather back out. I'm willing. His tone was steel. He said it again, I'm willing. A hot lump clogged my throat. No words came. I simply stared as tears slid off my lashes, one silent drop after another. Julian stepped in front of me, the taut lines of his face slowly softening. He lifted a hand and brushed the tears from my cheek with the pad of his thumb. That heartbroken over not marrying him? No, it's not that. I shook my head hard. I was afraid you'd regret this. He gave a soft laugh. As long as you don't, that's all that matters. After the ceremony, I saw Liam waiting outside my parents' gate. Sophie was curled against his chest. From a distance they looked like any devoted couple. Raven, I went back to the venue. They told me the wedding was over. I'm sorry I missed it, let's pick another date and do it again. Liam assumed the wedding had been cancelled because of him. In fact, someone else had already filled his place. The ceremony had gone ahead, joyful, crowded. I lifted one corner of my mouth. No need. I started to turn away, but his voice cracked after me. What do you mean, no need? We've been together 3 years and you still don't trust me? Sophie twisted her ankle by accident. Was I supposed to abandon her? I didn't cheat on you, why are you freezing me out? Liam's family is as wealthy as mine, he's a trust fund prince in his own right, and this city is full of playboys. But he'd never been one of them. For 3 solid years he'd given me all his attention, never once raising his voice. The fortress I thought our love had become crumbled the instant Sophie appeared. Sophie clung to him like a wounded bunny, her eyes shining with counterfeit remorse. Raven, you've really misunderstood Liam. If I'd known today was your wedding I would have crawled to the ER alone before I called him. I'm here by myself, no family, no friends, Liam's the only person I could think of. I promise, this is the last time. Liam patted her shoulder, heartbroken. Don't cry. Raven's not petty. Once she calms down she'll be fine. So my silence was just a tantrum to him. He expected me to drift into a corner like a forgotten balloon and quietly deflate, the way I always had. I stared at Sophie's innocent act and let out a cold laugh. Liam's your classmate. So were half the people at the last reunion. No one to turn to? Or are you just so unpopular that the only rescue squad you could dial was the town central heating unit? You manage not to twist your ankle 365 days a year, yet today your foot suddenly develops telepathy with Liam and knows he's getting married? Sophie's face flamed. She wanted to defend herself, but explaining would shatter the fragile little rabbit facade she'd worked so hard to build. I angled my head toward Liam, who looked faintly stunned. And yes, I am petty enough that there's only room for 2 people in my heart. Unlike you, whose heart is apparently a warehouse for every stray acquaintance. Liam, you're a decent man, but you can't be decent to everyone, and you sure as hell can't put their comfort above my sense of security. This time I don't want to forgive you, and I won't. I gave them no chance to answer and walked away. My parents evicted me. 3 years without a word to Julian, they said, and now we were legally husband and wife, time to move in with him and rekindle the spark. I gave in. While unpacking I managed to twist my ankle. Sitting amid scattered luggage, I stared at my puffy, carrot-sized foot and finally called Julian. He arrived in under 10 minutes, brow creased, and made 2 calls, one to cancel a crucial meeting tomorrow, another to summon the city's top orthopedist. It reminded me of the night I'd spiked a 102-degree fever and rang Liam only to be sent to voicemail. Moments later a text arrived. Liam's exhausted from helping me move. He's already asleep. Attached was a photo. Liam, 6 foot plus of solid man, sprawled across Sophie's Pepto-Pink bed, sleeping like a baby. If you zoomed in, you could see the framed snapshot of the two of them in college sitting on her nightstand. That night my body burned while my heart free fell into an ice pit. Now, watching Julian scrap a vital meeting just to rush me to the hospital, I finally understood. A single call could bring someone running. I could matter that much. The belated injustice flooded my nose, stung my eyes, and spilled over. Julian panicked, dabbing at my tears, thinking the pain in my ankle had set me off. "Don't cry, we're going to St. Anne's right now." I didn't correct him. I let him carry me out to the car and drive me there. When I spotted Liam and Sophie in the corridor, my first reaction was disgust. Of course the universe would dump them in my path again. Liam saw us too. His gaze flicked between Julian and me. "Jordan, you too." He'd met Julian at a few high-profile functions. They weren't acquainted. Since dating Liam, I'd cut contact with Julian, so Liam had no idea we were even friends, let alone anything more. Seeing the feared private equity titan cradling me princess-style left him blinking in confusion, and, judging by the scowl locking on Julian's arms around me, more than a little irritated. Sophie leaned harder against him, forehead almost brushing his neck. "Raven, how can you let a man carry you? Liam will be upset." "None of your damn business." I turned my face away from her steeped in green tea expression and pressed my forehead to Julian's solid chest. Liam swallowed the bitter sight, but mindful of Julian's clout, he kept his voice even. "Jordan may not know, Raven is my fiancée. Thank you for driving her here. I'll handle her consultation from here. In other words, hand her over." Julian's arms instinctively tightened. "Fiancé? I think you're mistaken, Casey. Raven and I have been childhood friends. She is my wife now." His glance slid to Sophie, edged with mockery. "You have someone to look after. My wife doesn't need your help." "Wife?" Liam's face went blank. "Raven is my fiancée. Our wedding." The memory slammed into him. His eyes snapped to me. "So the ceremony wasn't cancelled, you just swapped grooms?" I lifted a brow, calm as still water. "That's right. Jordan and I completed the wedding, so I'm his wife now. You had a damsel in distress to save. I had a childhood friend ready to step in." To prove it, I looped my arms around Julian's neck and brushed a light kiss to the corner of his mouth. At the contact, his whole body locked. At this range, I watched his ears blaze from lobe to tip. The cold-faced tycoon of Wall Street legend. Blushing like a schoolboy, Liam lost it. The arm supporting Sophie jerked back as he planted himself between Julian and me. Sophie lurched, crying out in pain, but he didn't even flinch. "Explain, what wife? What childhood friend? Casey, back off." Julian finally lost every trace of patience. Looking down from his height, he pinned Liam with a stare. "If Raven's treatment is delayed, you can't afford the consequences." In terms of social power, Julian could crush him without effort. Angering him could make life miserable for the entire Crawford group. Liam's face went white, then green, and at last he slowly lowered the arm that had been blocking us. Outside St. Anne's Hospital, Liam's expression was dark and sour, as if something that had always belonged to him had overnight become someone else's and he could do nothing about it. Sophie had her hand tucked through his arm, indignant. "Sister Raven is really out of line. You were together 3 years. Talking marriage, how could she run off and marry someone else? After all the kindness you showed her, she not only threw your love back in your face, she probably ruined the Crawford reputation as well. Judging by that man's clothes, he's no ordinary guy. Maybe she's climbed an even higher branch." "Shut up." Liam's eyes blazed. Ignoring Sophie's injuries, he shook her off and stalked straight to his car. Sophie hobbled after him, resentment bubbling inside. Back in college, Liam had been at her beck and call, mild as warm water, letting her take whatever she wanted. But since returning to Riverdale, he was never available the moment she called. Even when he came, he was distant, every other sentence about Raven, texting her whenever he had a spare second. She could feel it clearly. Liam no longer cared the way he used to. Inside the car, Liam punched the steering wheel so hard the horn shrieked. Where had it all gone wrong? He and Sophie were completely innocent. Every meeting had been nothing more than helping out. Why had Raven treated it as an unforgivable crime? In the past she might sulk a little, but a bit of coaxing always fixed it. Why had she exploded this time? Could it be Julian used some trick? The dashboard's cold blue light painted his taut, gloomy face. That has to be it. The doctor said my twisted ankle wasn't serious, just that I should stay off my feet for a while. I sat on the corridor bench, remembering how in the heat of the moment I'd kissed Julian, and only now did embarrassment catch up. I sneaked a glance at him as he sorted the payment receipts. His brow ridge was high, eye sockets deep, the long lashes now lowered, softening the usual intimidating stare into something quietly absorbed. I'd seen this handsome face countless times since we were kids. Before I'd only sigh, so damn hot. But right now my heart missed a beat and started thudding out of control, my cheeks heating for no reason. I'm sorry, just now that was to rile Liam, so Julian didn't even lift his head. Not forgiven. Heh. Before I could react, his palm cupped my cheek and the next second his lips came down. This kiss was nothing like the earlier showy peck. He kissed me until my head spun and my legs went weak. I couldn't even feel the pain in my ankle. After who knows how long he drew back a fraction. His dark eyes were right there, locking onto my dazed gaze. Raven, remember. His thumb brushed my slightly swollen lower lip. I'm your husband. I'll kiss you when I want, no apologies. Just don't ever kiss me to spite another man. I want your kiss to be real. My brain felt like a virus had crashed it. I was burning all over. What are you two doing? A voice charged with anger suddenly sounded nearby. I jumped and looked up. Liam stood only a few steps away. The car keys in his fist cracked as he clenched them, his eyes cold and fixed on us. Julian stayed perfectly calm, rising to shield me with his body as he met Liam's stare. Casey, back so soon, did you forget something? Yes, I forgot something very important. Liam's face was like still water, his gaze sliding past Julian and boring straight into me. Raven, did Julian force you? Don't be afraid. Say the word and Crawford will go to war with Sterling to bring you back. People really do laugh when they're speechless, like me right then. Liam's lines had fried my circuits. No. Liam, what nonsense are you spouting? What century is this, still playing the kidnapping romance? Not afraid the cops will invite you for tea? Has he fried his brain on alpha male novels? How can he be so sure that after every hurt I'd still pick him, insisting what Julian and I have is coercion? Still trapped in his fantasy, Liam turned on Julian, indignant. I know Sterling can blot out the sun in this town, but you can snatch her body, not her heart. 3 years together, 3 years of memories, those don't lie. I'm telling you, the man in her heart has never been you. He advanced step by step, the fury in his eyes thickening. If you truly care about Raven, let her come back to me. The one she loves is me. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. Liam, are you done yet? Finished? A faint smile lingered on Julian's lips, his tone still quiet. Who Raven loves isn't up to you. People change, feelings change. When she needed you, you vanished. Now she doesn't, you jump out to play devoted. Casey, you're the one who threw her away. Did you expect her to wait forever? Give it a rest. Still, every cloud has a silver lining. Your first love is waiting. From now on you won't have to run yourself ragged chasing 2 women. Liam had come back to the hospital alone, clearly he'd driven Sophie home first. In his mind Sophie's safety always ranked number 1. And he still dares to talk about love. Hilarious. Liam's expression froze, he looked at me with a flicker of guilt. Raven, our 3 years, you've really let go? 3 years, you've truly let go? Yes. My answer rang out without the slightest hesitation. I've let go of all of it. Right then Liam's phone rang. No need to guess who was calling. I lifted a brow and hooked my finger through Julian's. Understanding, he bent and lifted me securely into his arms, heading for the elevator. Living together with Julian wasn't exactly smooth. Outsiders saw childhood sweethearts finally reunited, but after 3 years apart we were practically strangers. Thrown under the same roof overnight, the awkwardness was suffocating. He seemed to feel the tension too, whether deliberately or because work really was insane. He left early and came back late every day. To my surprise, I felt a twinge of disappointment. Maybe he'd only shown up at the wedding out of old friendship. I couldn't demand he actually offer himself up. Much as I drooled, it had to be mutual. Late one night I waited on the sofa to clear the air with him, but fell asleep. When I woke he was sitting on the adjacent couch, tie loosened, a faint scent of alcohol clinging to him. His gaze rested on me, darker and deeper than usual. Waiting for me? I nodded. Julian, I'm really grateful you rescued me at the ceremony and helped me shake Liam at the hospital. You don't have to dodge me by leaving at dawn and crawling back at midnight. After a while I'll set the record straight, tell people we tried living together, realized we didn't suit, and divorced." He said nothing, but his brows drew together slightly, and the fingers that had been turning his car keys stopped dead at the word divorce. I lowered my head. Sure enough, he'd only come to bail me out. A faint, quiet bitterness seeped through my heart. "Sorry for the trouble," I said, forcing back tears as I stood. But the instant I rose he grabbed my wrist. "Raven, you shouldn't doubt. You shouldn't doubt my love for you. When you were 16, in my father's study, I saw you on tiptoe reaching for a book, sunlight caught in your hair brighter than any diamond. From that day on, no one else could fit inside my heart." He gave a soft, self-mocking laugh. "Pity that in your eyes I'm only a friend. I was scared you felt nothing, scared this wedding was trapping you, yet I couldn't bear to lose you, so I kept my distance, terrified you'd say you were leaving." It felt like a silent thunderbolt struck me. I froze, forgetting how to breathe. So this man, always so cool and controlled, had hidden such a timid, tender love all these years. My lips parted. Idiot. That night Julian's emotions, suppressed for more than a decade, finally erupted. He pressed me into the sofa, tangling with me as if life itself hung on it. The whole world shrank to nothing but his ragged breaths and my drumbeat heart. The night was long and scorching. I've always had a laid-back personality. My original plan after marrying Liam was to stay home, let him take over Vance while I lived the idle life. Now that we'd split, I decided other people are ultimately unreliable, so I resigned from Crawford and went back to Vance to learn the business. When I went to clear out my desk, I overheard some gossip. Liam had personally hired a new secretary and was treating her very well. No need to guess, it had to be Sophie. The news left me unruffled. After HR stamped my papers, I walked to the car and found a text from Julian. Missing you like crazy." I remembered the TV interviews where Julian never smiled. Who could guess that in private he's as clingy as a puppy? Even during office hours the messages never stop, so much for the legendary workaholic. At home it's worse, he sticks to me all day, and one thing leads to another until we're rolling around. He also shows up at Vance for lunch. If he can't come, flowers and gifts arrive non-stop. Inside a month, every floor of the tower was buzzing about how blissfully Raven's new marriage glowed. Worse, in more than one interview he volunteered updates about me, practically writing "Raven is my wife" across his forehead. Paparazzi shots of us shopping filled social media, captioned "Vance heiress dumps Crawford heir, elopes with Sterling Titan, post-wedding bliss." Lounging on the sofa, I scrolled through the witty comments and giggled. Suddenly a call banner flashed across the screen. Derek, Liam's best friend, someone I also know well. I picked up. Loud background noise made me frown. "What's up? Raven, you and Liam were rock solid, how can you remarry just like that? He made one tiny mistake, already apologized, why'd you block his number? Come back. As long as you and Julian haven't signed the license, it's not too late." I'd figured he'd play mediator. I answered coolly, "It's the 21st century. The Qing dynasty is dead. I'll marry whoever I want. He calls a dozen times a day, block him or lose my mind. I'm a married woman now." Sam, startled by my pushback, softened his tone. "I don't mean that. Liam's been drinking non-stop, he's practically unconscious. I've got to run, can you pick him up? Did they think I was born yesterday? Obviously a setup to throw us together. Pity. I'd already given him chance after chance, he never treasured them." "No," I shot back cleanly. "Tell Liam we're done. Don't bother me again. Let's part on good terms and go our separate ways. With all my heart I wish him and Sophie 100 years of happiness, may they have 8 kids in one go." The line went dead with a dull beep beep. Inside the private booth the atmosphere turned bizarre. Derek switched off speaker and grumbled, "I warned you to keep distance from Sophie, look what's happened." Liam's face was flushed. He'd had plenty to drink but was far from the unconscious, Derek claimed. His messy bangs hung over his eyes as he raked a hand through his hair, looking more disheveled by the second. "She has someone new now, a business titan, her childhood friend, what can you offer that competes?" Liam's brows snapped together, knuckles whitening around his glass. 3 years with Raven, she loves me, I know it. Sophie and I never actually crossed the line, Raven will forgive me, She has to. She can't be this heartless. How can she be this heartless? His voice rang with stubborn self-deception. Derek shook his head in defeat. In the old days, if Raven heard you were drunk, she'd charter a helicopter to rescue you. And now, people change. You once vowed Raven would be your wife, but after Sophie returned, can you swear you never wavered? You basked in being needed by her. That feeling went way past normal friendship. So only you're allowed to change your mind, but Raven isn't. Besides, her cold heart is still better than your warm indecision. Raven fell for you because you were warm. She never imagined that same warmth would one day burn her. Realizing Liam needed to stew in his own juice, Derek grabbed his coat. At the door he paused. One more thing. Sophie flew home. Of all our old classmates, why did she single you out? Ever wonder? After Derek left, silence swallowed the booth. Finally Liam hurled his glass against the floor. Shit. Elbows on knees, shoulders sagging, tie askew, he looked like a stray dog abandoned by its owner. I'd more or less mastered Vance's domestic operations. Next came the overseas side. A huge Munich contract popped up, and I hopped on a plane alone. We signed quickly. I rang Julian, eager for praise. The moment the call connected, two punks snatched my purse. Cash didn't matter, the passport bundle and the contract were inside. I sprinted after them, but in a foreign city, in unfamiliar alleys, in heels, I stood no chance. I watched them vanish. At the precinct the translator had already left. I don't speak German, so I mimed my way through. After hours of incomprehensible back and forth, I stepped out well past midnight. The Munich winter wind knifed through me, making me shiver. Contract gone, odds of recovery slim, flight missed, hotel still unbooked. Helplessness hit like an isolated island. Tears rose without warning, the world dissolving into quivering shards of light. Just then my phone buzzed in my pocket. Julian. But only rough, broken breaths came through, plus the sound of footsteps drawing closer. I spun around. Under the cold, pewter sky of deep winter, at the far end of an empty street, I saw him sprinting toward me, raw panic in his eyes. How are you here? The words had barely left my mouth before a tremendous force yanked me into his chest. What followed was the warmth of his body and a heartbeat that had spiraled out of control. You scared me to death. His voice was hoarse, threaded with the relief of someone who'd just survived a catastrophe. After our brief call that morning, he heard nothing from me and feared I was in trouble, terrified that something terrible had happened. So he flew his private jet to Munich without stopping once. The heart he had carried in his throat the whole way finally settled when he saw me. Except. I jerked my head up abruptly. You were signing a contract today, weren't you? A deal worth hundreds of millions. Julian said coolly, it's fine. What do you mean fine? Are you crazy? I'm an adult. If anything happened I could handle it. That's a multi-billion-dollar contract. You weren't even sure I was in danger. How could you drop it just like that? Only after I took over Vance did I realize how hard it is to strike a bargain, let alone one worth that much. He must have worked for ages, only to see it undone because of me. Julian gently patted my back, as though I were the one who'd blown the deal, and soothed, you're always my top priority. You know what I can do. Business lost can be renegotiated. If anything had happened to you, I could never forgive myself. My eyes stung, and tears rolled down without warning. In that instant I felt I had touched the very substance of love. It doesn't have to be warm all the time. It simply, quietly exists whenever it is needed. Liam is a warm guy, but he's warm to everyone. Julian looks icy and severe, yet he burns for me alone. That day, when I walked up to the Vance Tower, I spotted Liam's car, the black Mercedes he always drove, plates showing my birthday. Foreboding seized me and I quickened my steps. He still saw me. Liam scrambled out, frantic, barring my way. Did you and Julian already get the license? I heard he walked away from a blockbuster deal just to take you to Munich for a honeymoon. His buying you, don't fall for it. My brows knitted. I never thought I'd see Liam like this, unkempt, like a drunk who hadn't washed in a week. Liam, have you lost your mind? We ended ages ago. Who I marry, where I honeymoon, it has nothing to do with you. I tried to step around him. As I passed, he seized my wrist in a grip I couldn't shake off. Raven, don't go. I've cut every tie with Sophie. Shipped her overseas. I swear I'll never speak to her again. After you left it's like something tore a hole in my chest, I can't focus, every dream ends with your back walking away. Please, come back. I looked at him calmly, my gaze distant. 3 years together taught me how soft his heart is. He sent Sophie abroad only because, if she stayed, he couldn't stop himself from caring. Call it kindness and he's a warm guy. Call it what it is, he's indiscriminate. Thank heavens I stopped the loss in time. Why would I step back into that swamp? I already had my wedding. I don't need another one. I've been with Julian 3 months, yet felt more love than during 3 years with you. Whatever happens between you and Sophie is your business. All I know is Julian is the only man I want for the rest of my life. I won't be like you were, ignoring the one beside you while you wrestle with an ex. The light in Liam's eyes dimmed, rims reddened. Raven, don't be cruel, give me one more chance. Every day I open a magazine and see photos of you and Julian. The way you look at him drives me insane. I regret it, Raven. I brought the paperwork. Say yes and we'll file today, then throw the grandest wedding, please. He reached to hug me. I stepped back fast. Don't touch me. I twisted hard and broke free. This guy really is emotionally sloppy. Had he just chosen Sophie, it would be the perfect campus to altar tale. But he had to turn back. In love nothing's worse than this wishy-washy hesitation. If you can't choose decisively, don't blame someone for walking away. There's no room for you in my heart now. Your regret, longing, pain, those belong to you. Take every last drop of your feelings and leave my world. Panic flooded Liam's face. He yanked a passport bundle from his coat. Raven, I can change. You still love me, right? 3 years, you can't toss that away, can you? You've forgiven me so many times, do it once more, the last time. He yanked open the passenger door and stared at me, desperate, earnest. Didn't you always want a license? Let's go, right now. Raven, just one chance, okay? I glanced at the seat, still covered by the cushion I bought. Under his hopeful gaze I slammed the door shut. No, there was zero negotiation in my tone. I turned to leave, then paused. Chengqian, I called, old habit, I once meant to spend my life with you. I wanted to marry you, to be your wife, I truly loved you. But you wrecked it with your own hands. What you did betrayed the love I gave. Julian showed me how it feels to be loved without reservation. I never worry someone will steal him, he is utterly mine, and from this day on I am utterly his. Liam's eyes flooded, like a punctured balloon his legs buckled and his knees slammed the pavement. Raven, we'll never go back, will we? I gave no answer, only walked through the Vance revolving doors. I think he already knows, he just can't face it. This is a hurdle only he can clear, no one, not even I, can help him. The moment Liam's plea hit the gossip sites, Julian rang. Raven, I wanted to design the perfect proposal before we filed. I don't want to wait. I can't wait. 10 minutes, I'll be at your tower. We're going to the clerk's office right now. I burst out laughing. Is this necessary? I'm yours and only yours. Riverdale swears the Sterling chief is unshakable, look at you, a spooked bird. Aren't you afraid the press will tease? The line went quiet. Then Julian's steady voice returned. Raven, nothing scares me except losing you. I leaned against my office window just as his Rolls-Royce slid through traffic and stopped at the curb. He stepped out, seemed to sense something, and looked up. His deep gaze cut across the bustling tide of people and locked on me. Raven, will you be my real wife? In that heartbeat the city's roar faded to a hush. I tightened my grip on the phone. Yes. Thanks for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate our story? If you liked this video, please like and share with friends. We can't wait to read your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more great tales. See you next time. I was with Colton for 6 years, and he never once brought up marriage. That morning his phone rang while he was shaving. He asked me to pick it up. The screen showed an unsaved number. When I answered, a tearful girl whispered, Colton, I need you so much right now. I went cold, thumbed the speaker, and let the sound of her pain twist Colton into someone I didn't recognize. The woman on the line was his first love, his late brother's fiancée. Colton didn't offer a single word of explanation, he just grabbed his car fob and walked out. Later I packed my life into boxes and left without goodbye, never imagining he'd tear the city apart looking for me. Dusk settled, street lights flickered on. I eased Colton's mouth from my throat and muttered, "Your stubble's killing me." He'd been on a business trip half the month and was starving for touch. For 3 days he kept me in bed so long my legs felt like borrowed limbs. "That all you feel, pain?" He pinched my cheek, grinning. "Then shave me, yeah?" I hummed agreement. Razor halfway up his jaw, the phone buzzed. "Probably one of the guys wanting drinks," he said, nodding toward the nightstand. I wiped lather from my hands, saw the same UN-saved string of digits, and tapped accept. "Colton, I need you so much right now." The voice cracked, equal parts fragile and seductive. Recognition slammed into me. The phone almost slipped. Face blank, I hit speaker and lifted it toward him. Her broken sobs spilled into the bathroom. Colton's hand froze mid-stroke. I ended the call. He twisted the faucet, splashed freezing water over his cheeks. "Are you going to her?" I asked. Silence. He didn't even reach for a towel, just snatched the phone, snagged his calf fob, and strode out. I stood frozen until the door slammed, then noticed a sharp heat on my right shoulder where he'd shoved me into the jam. I knew the caller, Juliet, the woman who'd almost become his sister-in-law. They'd dated in high school, she'd vanished overseas, then returned as his brother's girlfriend. Before vows were spoken, his brother died in a private jet crash. I'd always known she still owned a piece of him. Every business trip yielded 2 gifts, every holiday, a text he thought I wouldn't see. Even her puppy, Jordan, had been a birthday present from Colton. How many secret meetings they'd had, I didn't want to guess. Around 10 my phone danced with messages from Ivy. Holy shit, did Colton just cheat? He's at the speakeasy with his arm around some chick. Wait, it's Juliet. That absolute dog. 3 blurry snaps followed, Colton cradling her, Juliet's glazed, flirtatious stare. Ivy, want to storm in and catch them red-handed? Me, pass. Too tired. I carried a bottle of wine to the balcony. Later, scrolling Instagram, I saw Juliet's new post, "Only you in the whole world treat me right." The photo was a grainy silhouette, but after 6 years I knew Colton's shoulders better than my own. I flashed back to the year his brother died, our 2nd year together. After the funeral, Colton hosted a dinner for the friends who'd helped at the service. Juliet and I were both there. She initiated adding me on WhatsApp that night. We ran into each other a few times after, always with Colton hovering, never deeper than small talk. I waited in the living room until sunrise painted the windows pale gray. Exhaling, I washed my face, changed clothes, and dragged my suitcase from the closet. We'd started dating junior year, me the pursuer, him the pursued. Girls mobbed him, yet he chose me. When I asked why, he said, "You're different." Different how? He only smiled. After graduation he joined Grey. His brother was gone, his father drowning in starlets, the board 8 heirs alive. I stayed, poured vodka with shaking hands until a deal closed and I vomited blood. Soon rumors branded me the tramp who slept her boyfriend's contracts into existence. At first we laughed it off, then Colton's hesitations grew longer, his apologies thinner. I knew it was time to go. I opened a boutique agency. Colton, maybe from guilt, funded half. I never took it free, I wired his share of profits every quarter. I moved out of his loft. 3 days, 0 calls. Friday night, pacing the Ivy Lounge foyer, I collided with them. I angled to pass, but Colton said, "Sierra, something you need?" Juliet's fingers clamped around his arm. "Let's go in, Colton." She eyed me like I was contagious. "Ellis must be busy, let's not bother her." I gave a lazy smile. "Right, I'm meeting a client unlike you two, lovely and idle." Juliet bit her lip, color draining. I stepped inside. My prospect cancelled last minute, family emergency. Half an hour alone with a bottle told me the contract had slipped to a competitor. I killed the pour, headed out, and ran into Juliet relining her lips in the mirror. "Ellis," she chirped, nerves flickering. "Heard you launched your own shop, impressive." "Not like me, I'm hopeless." "Juliet." Colton appeared in the hallway, gaze softening the instant it landed on her. That softness, he'd never once turned it on me. Even in bed he was steel and hunger. After, maybe drowsy banter, but never tenderness. "Colton," she sang, tucking herself under his arm. I was just saying Ellis is such a powerhouse, wonder what kind of man she'll snag next. I caught the barb. Morgan, you might overextend yourself, I said. But if I do date again, I'll pick someone single, unlike certain women who specialize in theft. And any man who can be stolen isn't worth keeping. Sierra. Colton barked, face thunderdark. I rolled my eyes and walked away. I'd barely been back in my loft 10 minutes when Colton showed up. He knew I lived here. That didn't surprise me. I didn't let him in. I stayed just inside the door. He stayed outside. What do you want? Mad at me? Colton raised an eyebrow. Sierra, I always thought you were the perfect bed warmer. Never figured you had such a temper. Bed warmer? Shock flashed across my face, then fury. 6 years together, and that's all I get, 2 cheap syllables. He reached to touch my cheek. I slapped his hand away and followed with a ringing smack across his face. Get lost. I hit hard. Red streaks bloomed on his cheek. He didn't get angry, he smiled. That mad? You didn't exactly lose out, did you? The 7 digits in your bank account, care to guess how many of them came from me? Sierra, it was consensual fun between grown-ups. Don't tell me you caught feelings. Fun. I squeezed my eyes shut. The anger curdled into nausea. Look, Sierra, this is the man you loved for 6 years, and in his head you're nothing but a disposable bedwarmer. Pathetic. Pointless. But fine. Better to see it now. Yeah, just fun, I said coldly. So, Mr. Gray, can you please screw off? Why should I? He stepped closer. I was about to shove him when the elevator dinged and a figure stepped out. Juliet. Sierra. Before I could react, the lunatic lunged and slapped me, shrieking, shameless. Sierra, Colton's my boyfriend now. I slapped her right back, then, still furious, drove my knee into Colton's gut. You 2 psychos, get out of my face. I spun to slam the door, but Juliet blocked it. Her eyes were blood red. Colton never loved you, Sierra. What makes you think you're any better? We all know how you landed the Mr. Client deal, don't we? I looked at Colton. The past flickered through my mind. My mouth twisted into a smirk. So you've always believed I slept with Mr. Client? The man had hinted, sure. The night he invited me to a hotel to sign, I phoned his wife first. Everyone knows Mr. Client is terrified of her. He signed anyway, grimacing. Colton's expression soured. My grin widened. If I'm so used, why keep me around for years? Oh, right. I gave a brittle laugh, fists clenched. Back then you hadn't consolidated power in the Grey. You still needed me. I turned to Juliet. Now that you're safely perched, you decide the first love is better, huh? I flipped them both the bird. You 2 deserve each other. Think you're so pure. Juliet sneered. A played-out tramp who actually believed Colton would marry her. Colton stood there, letting her spit venom, not lifting a finger. We're both women, Morgan. Didn't your mother teach you basic respect? I grabbed a fistful of Juliet's hair and shoved. She hit the floor. What the hell? Colton pushed me. My back slammed into the wall, a dull pain blooming behind my ribs. What's going on here? 2 precinct officers climbed the stairs, scowling. Someone called about a disturbance. All of you, come with us. No client meeting, no closed deal, and now this circus. My night was perfect. The hallway cams told the whole story, so the lecture was brief. Handle private matters quietly and stop waking the neighbors. Outside the precinct, Colton murmured something. Juliet shot me a frosty glare and slid into the car. Colton walked over, eyes complicated. You and Mr. Client, you really didn't sleep with him? I said no. You still don't believe me, do you? I spotted Juliet craning her neck from the back seat. I stepped closer to Colton, poked his chest. You called 6 years a game. Fine, may you and your former sister-in-law live happily ever after, locked together for life. I shoved him hard and climbed into a waiting cab. When Colton got back to the car, his face was dark, unreadable. He started the engine and suddenly asked, back then, did you actually see Sierra and Mr. Client check into a hotel together? I took 2 days off, burrowed under my blankets, and slept until the world spun. When I finally surfaced, I boiled instant noodles and binge-watched reality shows. The peace didn't last. Mom called. Sierra, come home tomorrow for dinner. I have good news. I didn't ask what. I just said yes. Sean was there when I walked in the next day. His mom's son from her second marriage. The guy took off soon after Sean was born, chasing some new woman. As a girl, I'd been ignored. Grandma and Grandpa wanted a grandson, even helped Dad find a mistress. Mom divorced him, only to marry someone worse. She raised Sean and me alone. I know how hard that was. She kept piling food on my plate. Sean ate in silence. She peeled a glossy, soy-braised prawn and set it in my bowl. Sierra, your little brother's getting married at year-end. My chopsticks paused. I already smelled the pitch coming. The bride's family wants a new place. We picked one, only 300,000. Sounds nice. Go ahead. She beamed. I knew you'd help. Sean saved 10,000. You can cover the rest. I inhaled quietly and set my chopsticks down. I don't have the money. Ask Jordan. Sorry, Yang. His company's huge. 300,000 is pocket change to him. We broke up. He has a new girlfriend. I looked at Sean, still staring at his bowl. Live within your means. You're 25, you can't lean on people forever. Sean quit high school, did nothing for a year. I found him an apprentice mechanic job. He said the pay insulted him and walked. Since then I've lined up 5 or 6 gigs, none lasted more than 4 months. Who asked for your lecture? Sean slammed his chopsticks down and stormed out. The door shook in its frame. Vance Jun. Mom took 2 steps after him, then spun to glare at me. Sierra, can't you see how hard I've worked? Why can't you show a little understanding? I've shown plenty. Have you ever considered me? You ask for 300,000 like I'm an ATM. If I had it, I wouldn't hand it over. I took a card from my bag and placed it on the table. There's 20,000 in there. For his house, that's my share. The rest is his problem. I left while a fine drizzle was starting. Under my umbrella, shoes splashing on the wet sidewalk, I flashed back to the year I turned 10. Mom always favored Sean, sure, but she never actually shortchanged me. That year, when Mom truly couldn't scrape together tuition for Sean and me, she secretly sold her blood. A neighbor finally whispered the truth to me. So all these years, no matter how much she spoiled Sean or how creatively she siphoned money from me to him, I never once said no. But right now, I'm suddenly tired. I don't want to be a lifelong crutch for my kid brother. I want a little life of my own. After I lost 3 deals in a row, it dawned on me someone was sabotaging me. I asked a friend to poke around and quickly learned Juliet was stirring the pot. Whatever she promised those clients, every one of them ended up signing with Gray Holdings instead. I called a former colleague from Gray. She said Colton had lately sidelined several veteran executives. He'd promoted a crop of new faces. Some were capable enough, but they were green, and without seniority they couldn't keep the rank and file in line. She also told me Colton had replaced his executive assistant with Juliet. I couldn't fathom what the two of them hoped to gain. Did they expect me to beg for mercy? Total lunatics. I turned around, pulled strings, and sold my boutique agency. Added to my savings, I'd never have to worry about food or rent again. While I was Googling retirement towns, Colton rang. You sold your agency, Sierra. I just wanted you to fold. And you sold the damn thing? He roared so loud I held the phone at arm's length and frowned. I'm selling my own company, what's it to you? At Gray Holdings that day, the CEO's office was a minefield. Whoever stepped inside got blown up. Even Juliet was kicked out. Then Grant, Colton's lifelong friend, arrived. The room was freezing, hazy with smoke. Grant found Colton at the picture window, cigarette glowing. He honestly hadn't expected Sierra to unload the agency so cleanly. That business was her blood, sweat, and tears. Colton dragged hard on the cigarette, then stubbed it out with vicious force, chest tight with nowhere for the rage to go. You're mad she sold her own company? Grant asked lazily. When Colton stayed silent, Grant frowned. Man, Sierra gave you 6 years. Are you really done with her? Grant wasn't the only buddy who disliked Juliet. Years ago she'd ghosted Colton and latched onto his older brother. If the guy hadn't died, they'd be married by now. And while Colton was with Sierra, Juliet kept circling. Grant alone had caught them tangled up no fewer than 10 times. "Who the hell does she think she is?" Colton snarled, slamming the desk. "Grant, buy her agency back under your name. I'll pay whatever it takes." Grant snorted. "Buy it back for what? You know Sierra, once she decides, she's gone for good. You know her that well?" Colton's eyes slit. Fine, I'll go buy it." Grant threw his hands up and lumbered out. Colton lit another cigarette, Sierra's bright face flickering in his mind, the tightness in his chest now unbearable. "Mom phoned several times. I ignored them all. Somehow she sniffed out my address and showed up at the door. Eyes red, she glared. Let's dial back your brother's house. 180. You pay 180 grand, deal?" "Sierra, without a house he can't get married." She jutted her chin. "If you won't cough it up, I'm staying. I'll stand downstairs and announce how heartless you are." I watched her calmly and sipped my lukewarm water. She squirmed, softened her voice. "Honey, your kid brother has to marry sometime. I'll support you, Mom, but I won't bankroll Sean forever." I went to the bedroom, grabbed a debit card registered in her name. "Keep this. As long as you stay away from gambling, there's enough to keep you comfortable." She pocketed the card, suspicious. "Sierra, I'm leaving." Go where?" I shrugged. "Not sure, but I probably won't come back." I picked a southern city with no direct flights. I rode the express train, switched to regional rail, watched the scenery drift by, unhurried and light. The little town's tourist trade was still waking, so crowds were thin. I hired a guide, wandered a few days, then rented a cottage. The old quarter of Willow Haven was quiet, life moving at a stroll. My place sat beside a wildflower meadow, pushed the window and the lake glittered like spilled coins. Each evening I watched the sunset frame the water, my new favorite ritual. Half a month in, Ivy WhatsApped me a video from the Gray estate. Colton's parents had split when he was small. His father drank and chased women. Colton and his brother were raised by their iron-willed grandmother. Tonight was her 80th birthday celebration. Juliet crashed the party claiming to be Colton's girlfriend. The old lady slapped her on the spot. Gray discipline is no joke, and Grandma Gray doesn't blink. Juliet had been engaged to Colton's dead brother, now she was gunning for him. On camera, Grandma cursed Juliet in front of guests, face flushed with contempt. At the end I heard her ask, "Where's Sierra?" Ivy texted. Juliet plotted to force Colton's hand at the banquet. Grandma just torpedoed it. I replied with a few non-committal emojis. That night an unknown number rang. Before leaving town, I'd blocked every line Colton knew. Watching the screen, I felt it was him. I didn't pick up. I pulled a craft brew from the fridge, parked myself beside the counter, and let it ring. I stayed in Willow Haven 3 months. The day I packed for the next stop, Colton arrived. I was across the lane slurping rice noodles when his tailored suit filled the doorway, the back of it, anyway. 3 months was apparently all he needed to track me. I gulped the last bite, grabbed my suitcase, asked the cafe owner for a ride to the station. A panel truck idled outside. I slipped the owner $200, and she cheerfully heaved my luggage aboard. The truck lurched just as Colton stepped out, face storm-dark. My former landlord owned the B.B he'd booked. Colton's gaze swept toward our vehicle. I dropped my eyes to my phone and typed Ivy. Turns out he and Juliet had split. Ever since that night Colton spat the word bed partner, I'd understood. All those years I'd been useful, strategist by day, body warmer by night. Plus, with me in plain sight, who'd suspect him and Juliet? Even Grandma Gray had been fooled. The truck rattled toward the station. I watched Colton shrink in the mirror, feeling lighter than I had in years. I loved a man like that for 6 years. Right now, though, I'm nothing but grateful that I've broken free. The woman driving the van smiled and cheerfully asked where I planned to stop next. Truthfully, I hadn't decided. When the moment feels right, I'll just buy a seat on the next express train, roam wherever the rails take me, and if some place feels like home, I'll linger for a few months before moving on. Colton has changed completely. He's become ruthless, brisk, and bone silent. He personally investigated what happened between Sierra and Mr. Client back then, and only then discovered that the day the contract was signed Sierra had secretly phoned Mr. Client's wife. So Mr. Client never got what he wanted. Yet Juliet had sworn to him that Sierra had slept with the man, even showing him snapshots of Sierra and Mr. Client entering the same hotel room. How had he felt at the time? A gutting fury at betrayal and utter helplessness. So he froze her out, even in bed, each time rough, driving her until she lay limp and breathless. When had he realized he actually loved her? Colton can't pin the moment down. Maybe he'd loved her all along but refused to face it. He now understands that what he felt for Juliet was only the obstinate ache of a boy who couldn't have his first love. The instant Juliet became his brother's girlfriend, any future between her and him had snapped shut forever. The one in his heart is Sierra. Pity he saw it too late. Inside a private room at Ivy, Colton invited no one but Grant, yet halfway through the first bottle Juliet appeared. Though he'd told her they were finished, how could she accept it? She'd latched onto his older brother only because that man would inherit the Grey Empire. Marrying anyone less than the best was out of the question. And then Jordan died far too soon. Luckily, Colton made an able spare. She had waited, cast her line for years. Now he dared dump her. Impossible. What are you doing here? Before she could speak, Colton's gaze flicked over her, ice cold. I thought I'd made myself clear, we're done. Colton. Juliet excels at wounded innocence, eyes shimmering, lower lip trembling. Did I do something wrong? No, you didn't, it's me. He lifted his glass, drained it, eyes squeezed shut. Me and my blindness. I lost Sierra. Juliet froze, her lip nearly bleeding under her bite. Okay, Colton, you're drunk, Grant cut in, stepping between them. Juliet, head home. Whatever needs saying can wait. She shot one last look at Colton, unwilling, then left. Grant exhaled. All this searching, still no trace of her. Colton sagged against the sofa, scrubbing a hand over his face. She's determined to disappear this time. She's only angry. When she calms down she'll come back. Even if she returns, what's it to you? Grant snapped. You're the one who messed up. Quit the brooding act. I want to find her. Colton sat bolt upright, eyes fixed on Grant. I sent her away. I'll bring her back myself. 2 years later, on a plane-tree-lined avenue abroad, 4-year-old Kaylin was staging a sit-down strike, demanding I buy him a cupcake. No way. I pinched his chubby cheek. Your dad swore he'd dock my pay if I slip you another sugar bomb. The boy tilted his head, wide-eyed. Can't we sneak one? Recalling his father's frosty face, I hardened my heart. Not a chance. March, young man. Kaylin harumphed. As I reached for his hand I froze. Colton. I blinked, sure my eyes were playing tricks. He looked thinner, drained, as if he hadn't slept in weeks. Sierra. I finally found you. He lunged and hugged me so hard the air whooshed from my lungs. I thought I'd lost you forever. Sierra, why wouldn't you give me one chance? ? Who you? Let go of my Sierra. Kaylin pummeled Colton with tiny fists. Let her go. I wrenched free. Who is he? Colton stared at the child, then at me. Sierra, whose kid? My son. I glanced at him, took Kaylin's hand, and turned to leave. Colton seized my arm like a madman. You had a child with another man? The roar rang in my ears. Only after the shout did the math hit him. Kaylin looked 4, yet I'd been gone barely 2, impossible. Kaylin wasn't born to me. A year ago, while traveling abroad, I found the lost boy wandering. Mixed-raced, his father shares my nationality, his mother died giving birth. Terrified, Kaylin would cling to no one but me. His father pulled some strings, and presto, I became the kid's $1 million a year nanny. Clean air, quiet town, fat paycheck, light workload. And no one back home waiting for me anyway. Sierra, I kept searching. Colton's eyes reddened. Come home with me, please. No. I frowned. So I can slip back into being your secret bed warmer? I'm not that cheap. It's not like that, he blurted. I was an idiot. I hurt you. Marry me, Sierra, this time I mean it. Are you delusional? I coughed in exasperation, and Kaylin chimed, wide-eyed, if you're fine, have a plum. Sierra, please come back. Juliet is history. I swear you'll never see her again. Trust me, okay? What's going on here? A black sedan glided to the curb. Daniel stepped out and walked toward us. Kaylin's father, 5 years my senior, raised abroad, a steel-handed tycoon. Refined, handsome, ruthless beneath the polar opposite of Colton. Daddy. Kaylin sprinted over, yelling, someone's trying to steal your wife. Little traitor. Who are you? Colton sized Daniel up in his bespoke suit and instinctively reached for me. I sidestepped. Sierra is my son's tutor, Daniel said in perfect Mandarin, voice even. Sir, if you keep harassing her, don't blame me for getting impolite. At his signal, the 4 bodyguards behind him stepped forward in unison. Colton's brows clamped tight. With that wall of suits blocking him, he could only watch as Daniel ushered Kaylin and me into the car. From that day Colton clung like a burr. Every time I stepped outside he appeared, singing the same refrain, come home, he'd marry me, he'd throw the grandest wedding ceremony. Sierra, give me one more chance, please. Outside the lakefront mansion he blocked my path, making grabs for my hand. Heat flared in my chest. Is this fun for you, Colton? I asked quietly. It's been 2 years and you're still looping the same tired track. If you'd ever meant to marry me you'd have done it in those 6 years, not waited until I was shredded to beg for amends. He stared, lips parting, no sound escaping. Sierra. A hand settled on my shoulder. Daniel drew me aside a few steps, gaze flicking past Colton. Should I call the police? Forget it. I shook my head. I need groceries. Care to escort me, Daniel? My pleasure. He lifted his hand and let it fall, and we walked away. Colton tried to follow, sulking, but 2 bodyguards appeared out of nowhere and blocked him. In a corner I couldn't see, they beat him black and blue. There was a big supermarket nearby. After walking a few minutes I turned to Daniel and thanked him. His face was blank. You're Kaylin's teacher. I just didn't want Ellis's private affairs to affect your real job. TCH. This guy. But he'd always been like this, cool, distant, occasionally unreasonable, and I was used to it. Inside the store I grabbed a cart, never noticing the dark gaze Daniel pinned on my back. I didn't see Colton again after that day. Maybe he'd flown home, I didn't care. While Kaylin was at preschool I started teaching myself a foreign language. When the little master came home I fed him, bathed him, tucked him in. His last nanny had abused him, so he fought every new caregiver. I was soft-hearted, I couldn't stand watching the kid cry, so I stayed. His dad, to his credit, overpaid me outrageously. One night, after I'd finally coaxed Kaylin to sleep, I went downstairs for water and found Daniel in the living room with a glass. He asked if I wanted one. The house was full of vintage wine. The housekeeper had bragged that Mr. Ashford's collection opened at 6 figures a bottle. I couldn't resist. Then I won't be polite. I poured myself a glass, pale red, fruity and floral at first, then a slow burn that spread through my mouth. That man who kept bothering you, Daniel swirled his glass, casual. Ex-boyfriend? No. I paused. At most, an ex-bed warmer. Surprise flickered across his face, so I kept going. 6 years. I held his hand through hell, and you know what he called me? Daniel stayed silent. I tossed the drink back and poured another. A bed partner. I laughed, my eyes stung. The one he really loved was his older brother's fiancée. Funny, right? An unreadable emotion crossed Daniel's face. The liquor was strong, 2 glasses and the floodgates opened. I rambled forever, though I couldn't later remember what. My only hazy memory is Daniel sighing as he carried me upstairs. Half a month later I flew home. My mom had been in a crash, and my half-brother Sean had vanished. The hospital couldn't reach him, so they traced me. The injuries were grave. If she didn't wake up, the next stop was a vegetative state. I spent the first day running between departments until I understood what had happened. After I left 2 years ago, Mom stopped bankrolling Sean. She gave him only 10 grand of the 50 and saved the rest. He stormed out and disappeared. Daughter gone, son gone, her mind unraveled. She wandered into traffic while buying groceries. On day 2, Colton showed up. He didn't cling this time, he was the cold, shrewd CEO again. He said nothing, just sat with me. When lunch came, his executive assistant delivered food in a thermal bag, everything I used to love. I sighed. You don't have to do this, Colton. I don't blame you anymore. His eyes lit until I added, we ended 2 years ago. It's tiring. Sierra. He shut his eyes. Is it because of that Brit? You love him, Daniel. I'd drunk myself stupid that night, babbled God knew what, and the next morning he'd left on a business trip. He still wasn't back. It has nothing to do with him. I looked Colton squarely in the eye. Even without Daniel, you and I are impossible. I don't eat old grass, Colton. Not ever. He left after one long last look, saying nothing. I thought I'd been clear, anyone with pride would quit. I stayed at the hospital all day, slept at a nearby hotel at night. No change. The doctor suggested a foreign specialty unit. I promised to think about it. That evening I left the ward and saw Colton outside the hotel clutching a colossal bouquet of red roses. Pedestrians gawked. Sierra. He strode toward me, starting to drop onto one knee. The crowd froze. Suddenly, Mommy. A solid little cannonball rammed my legs. Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. I looked down into Kaylin's mischievous grin. A few yards behind him, Daniel walked toward us, elegant as ever. Colton stood petrified, roses in hand, halfway to kneeling. Kaylin shouted, Uncle, are you proposing to my mommy? I thought Colton might crumble on the spot. Daniel reached us, sliding an arm around my shoulders, and the 2 Ashfords escorted me into the hotel. Sierra. Colton's hoarse voice chased us. Will you really never forgive me? I didn't turn, I just walked faster. The night Juliet drunk dialed him, we'd already cremated what was left of us. Mom finally woke. I stayed 3 months. Kaylin stayed too. His dad threw enough money to enroll him in the neighborhood preschool. Daniel himself felt complicated. 35, always looking like victory was inevitable. I suspected he liked me, but since he never spelled it out, I played dumb. Right now romance was optional. Mom, however, grilled me nightly about Mr. Ashford. I dodged every pass. Year-end, I was planning to fly Kaylin home when Daniel arrived at midnight. He called. I tiptoed to open the door. The moment it swung wide, he pulled me into a cool, crisp hug that lasted several heartbeats. Happy birthday. He produced a box. Only then did I realize the clock had slid past 12, today was my birthday. Sierra, if the first person to wish you happy birthday also confesses, what are his odds? I half laughed. 1%. The other 99 depend on performance. 6 years with Colton were ash, 2 years of silt had settled. I was ready to risk something new. If it crashed, fine, I still had money. Love was just seasoning for boredom. A fling was fine, but 100% of my heart. Never again. 50, tops. Deal. Daniel followed me inside, grinning. I'll perform. Thanks for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you liked it, like and share. Drop your thoughts below, and subscribe for more. See you next time.
When I stepped out of Riverdale, rain was coming down in sheets. I sat outside the terminal waiting, but after more than an hour the person I was waiting for still hadn't shown. I thought for a moment, then opened Instagram. An hour ago Maura had posted, even if the rain turns the city upside down, the people who love me are still right here beside me. Strangely, I felt nothing. Maura's post came with a photo. I didn't have to guess, standing next to her birthday cake, holding the candles, were Eleanor, Richard, Leo, and Jason. I used to love Jason's hands, clean joints, fair skin, a faint blush across the knuckles. I'd teased him more than once that those hands could be hand model famous and make countless girls swoon. Now they were all with Maura. Just 5 hours earlier they had volunteered to meet me in the arrivals hall and take me home. No need to imagine, Maura's excuse would be not feeling well, so missing my pickup was only natural. For Maura they'd missed much of my life. They missed driving me to my college entrance exams, missed my coming-of-age ceremony, missed the congratulatory dinner for my university acceptance, missed every big and small anniversary. The reasons were always the same: Maura's heart hurt, her stomach hurt, the scar where her kidney had been removed hurt. They missed me again and again. I opened notes and added another tally mark. There were already 100 tally marks on the page. They'd missed me 100 times. Yet my heart was calm. After 99 misses, one more changed nothing. Maura was the daughter Eleanor and Richard lost before I was born. The day they found her again, I was turning 12. She was gaunt, pale, and someone had stolen one of her kidneys. Eleanor and Richard sobbed over Maura while I stood to the side in my party hat, dazed. From that day on, everyone's attitude toward me shifted. They told me to yield to her, protect her, she'd suffered too much. I nodded obediently and gave Maura all my sincerity. How did she repay me? I still remember, clear as yesterday, the hideous look on that pretty face. It's all because of you. After you were born, they stopped looking for me. Why? Everything you own should have been mine. You should never have been born. After that, every birthday of mine became her birthday. Eleanor and Richard carted all the good things to her room. Leo stopped clinging to me. Even Jason began looking at her again and again, his eyes full of tenderness and adoration. But wasn't he my boyfriend? Weren't Eleanor, Richard, and Leo my family? My grievances earned only their impatience. She's your sister. Do you think I'd have improper thoughts about her? Stop being unreasonable. Your sister went through hell. What's wrong with giving her the best? You can buy those things again. Maura is so gentle and frail. Can't you just leave her alone? Eleanor and Richard rarely lost their tempers, so to keep the peace I compromised again and again. Every storm Maura stirred up ended only because I bent. This was the 100th time, but this time all my former fury and reluctance were gone. I simply felt it wasn't worth it anymore. I had too much to do, too much unfinished work. I just wanted to sleep and wake up to fresh tasks. Exhausted, I checked into the grand view, fell onto the bed fully dressed, and slept like the dead until a ringtone jerked me awake. Eleanor's voice filled the room. Willa, where exactly are you at the airport? We're coming right now. Sorry, Willa, we kept you waiting, but you know how your sister's health is. If we weren't there, she'd be terrified home alone. Oh, no need, I said, finally surfacing from my groggy stupor. I left the airport ages ago. If you're worried about her, just stay with her. Don't worry about me. I hadn't really expected them to care. There'd been a time when I still hoped they might, when I'd stood waiting stupidly at the airport like this, but every time Maura called them away. Then Willa, where are you now? We could. No need. I've already booked a room. It's late, I'm going to sleep. I hung up before she could finish. I slept clear through to noon for once. After checking out, I even lingered over lunch at a diner before taking a cab home. Everyone was in the living room. When they saw me, they jumped up and hurried over, Jason included. Willa, which hotel were you at last night? Why didn't you let us pick you up? Eleanor asked. A hotel room can't be better than home. Surely you'd rest better here. Come, your sister cooked something delicious. Oh, no need, I've already eaten. I swept my gaze over the dishes on the table. Actually, in the past I had cooked every family meal myself, desperate for their approval. But if Maura so much as wrinkled her nose, I would be the one blamed, just like now. Maura pinched her brows delicately and murmured, Willa, do you dislike my cooking? I can remake it. Her words ushered fresh blame into Mom, Dad, and Jason's eyes. Willa, your sister slaved half the day over this spread. At least taste something. Second sis, did you stuff yourself outside just so you could humiliate our big sis? Leo's stare dripped contempt. Willa, your sister's health is fragile. She coughed on stove smoke for you and even cut her hand. Can't you give her a scrap of face? See? I say one sentence, and the scolding arrives right on schedule. I sighed. I'm allergic to shrimp and cilantro. Did you forget, Mom and Dad? Once, after I accidentally ate those two things, I spent a full month in the hospital. Back then Mom and Dad had even drawn up a safe foods list. And Maura knew about my allergy. She'd seen me refuse both foods with her own eyes. This warning shot of hers was so clumsy it struck me as downright funny enough to laugh at for the first time. Only then did Mom and Dad catch on. The air froze, thick with awkwardness. By the way, I said, cutting the silence in half, I've rented an apartment. I won't be coming back. Today I'm only here to collect my things. When I still lived here, I'd believed that if I only did a little better, Mom, Dad, and Leo might finally look at me, that if I indulged Maura a little more, they'd call me sensible and love me like they used to. I memorized everyone's preferences. For Maura's sake I gave in time after time, but today it finally clicked, Maura just wanted me gone. Fine. I'll oblige her. I'm tired of wrestling with Maura. It's pointless. In the end, the only one who ever gets hurt is me. Unexpectedly, Mom and Dad didn't agree. They frowned and caught my hand. Willa, are you upset because we were busy looking after your sister last night? No. Her health is frail. I understand you need to take care of her, I answered calmly. That's why I've decided to move out, so you can care for her more easily. Dad opened his mouth, but I spoke first. I've gathered everything. I'll leave now. Quarter End had spun me like a top. As a reward, Halcyon bought us plane tickets to Crystal for the company retreat. In past years, to please Jason and the family, I'd traded the trip for cash and showered them with gifts. Yet not once did I earn a nod of recognition. Their eyes stayed fixed on Maura. Only later did I realize my entire existence had chased their approval. That was never a healthy omen. This year everyone gasped when I actually showed up. Wow, not spending the week with your boyfriend and family? I smiled. I'm choosing myself for once. Not just once, every single time from now on. Oddly, after I moved out, Mom and Dad's calls multiplied. Even Leo, silent for months, began flooding me with iMessages. And Jason, who used to answer one syllable to my 10 lines, started sending video chats. Willa, let's have dinner tomorrow and talk about you and Jason. Second sis, your birthday's coming up, what do you want? I'll buy it. Willa, you once said the house needed succulents. I remember you love them, can I buy a whole set? I frowned at the new family group chat bubbling up on my phone, every message tagging me. I'd seen that group on Mom's phone before, Maura, Leo, Mom, Dad, no Willa. Now Dad had added me without my noticing. The sudden affection felt alien. I typed one line, on the company retreat, not coming home, and set the phone down. Jason's messages I ignored completely. I haven't figured out how to answer, nor how to handle what's left between him and me. Asterisk. The retreat's vibe poured pure ease and joy through me. Colleagues who once exchanged polite nods ignited over a single topic and talked until we were giddy. We snapped a group selfie, and for once I posted party pictures on Instagram. Wow, Willa, you're gorgeous when you smile, a coworker squealed, scrolling through shots. You always wore that stone face, we thought you were scary. Turns out you're a blast. I grinned, feeling lighter than air, paying no mind to Jason's calls, Mom and Dad's texts, Leo's voice notes, or Maura's ringing phone. The day the company retreat ended, I said goodbye to my colleagues one by one at Riverdale, then headed out, planning to go home and crash. But the moment I stepped outside, I saw Mom, Dad, Maura, Leo, and Jason all waiting for me. When they spotted me, their eyes lit up for a second. Willa. Leo darted forward to take my bag. I shifted it to the other side and his hand closed on empty air. What are you all doing here? The coldness in my voice froze them for a beat. Mom recovered first. Willa, your sister really misses you. Come back home, move back in, okay? Right, Maura's been talking about you in her sleep lately. When did you two become so inseparable? I gave Maura a half smile. She stared back timidly, but I didn't miss the malice behind her eyes. Miss me, or miss having someone around for Mom and Dad to scapegoat so you can stay their perfect darling? Maura's expression faltered, then rearranged itself into grievance. Willa, I know you've always hated me, but I honestly want us to fix this. Willa, that apartment can't be good for you. Come home. I'm the big sister, I should take care of you. Move back? My room became yours the day you returned, and after I started working I slept in the dorm. What exactly would I be moving back to? My words blanked every face. Mom and Dad looked like they'd just remembered too. Their faces went bloodless. They finally recalled how, after Maura came home, Dad had declared there weren't enough bedrooms. Mine was sunny and spacious, perfect for a convalescent, and simply enrolled me in on-campus housing. All these years I'd told myself I was used to their indifference, yet today their cliched plea still pinched my heart, dull and brief. I couldn't be bothered to catalog their expressions. I wheeled my suitcase past them and walked out of Riverdale. I thought the airport scene would keep Maura quiet for a while. I'd stopped competing, after all. I just hadn't expected her to keep vomiting drama onto my plate. I was in my corner office, drowning in work. The recent promotion came with a prettier paycheck and a heftier inbox. Texts from Mom and Leo, calls from Jason, none held my attention for even 60 seconds. Little by little I'd widened the distance. Whatever stunt Maura pulled on Instagram, I swiped past as if I hadn't seen it. When she messaged me directly with taunts, I never replied. My priorities now were my projects, my feelings. All those years nothing I did had been right in their eyes. Nowadays, as long as I approved of myself, that was enough. But Maura still wasn't done. Leo's call came right while I was wrestling a deadline. Willa, Leo hesitated. Can you come home? It's important. I frowned. Usually, whatever the crisis, Mom and Dad thought of Maura first. What was the emergency now? I finished my tasks, flagged my last email, then leisurely hailed a rideshare to the house I used to call mine. Everyone was there when I arrived, Jason included. When he looked at me, something unreadable flickered across his face. Shame, maybe, or pity. What's this about? I cut straight to it. I hadn't come for small talk. Willa, Dad started, voice strained. Let me. Maura's gentle tone floated across the living room, and, as if on cue, her eyes reddened. Willa, I know you'll be furious, but I can't help it. I've tried. Tears spilled, she reached for Jason's hand. Willa, I really love Jason. Every time I'm sick he's right there. His tenderness. I'm addicted. I can't give it up. So, Willa, could you let him go? Please? I love him. I'll return everything else, your room, whatever you want. Just, give me Jason. I stared at her blankly while she sobbed, shoulders shaking. Mom couldn't take it. She rushed over and wrapped Maura in her arms. Willa, your sister lost a kidney, she's fragile. Jason's care keeps her going. You're the younger one, and you're so capable. I swept my gaze over the whole Vance clan. While Maura wept, Mom, Dad, Leo, even Jason, fixed their eyes on her at the exact same moment. For the first time I witnessed, raw and unscripted, how the squeaky wheel really does get the grease. Fine. What? I heard my own voice, Jason's disbelieving echo, and saw the stunned faces of Mom, Dad, and Leo all at once. I promise you, Maura, Jason, I don't want him anymore, I give him to you. I smiled and said it again. Maura froze, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. Probably she'd never imagined I'd agree so readily. Willa, what do you mean? Jason couldn't take it. Swallowing his anger, he yanked me aside and demanded. I looked at him, puzzled. Since my sister likes you, of course I should step aside, don't you think that's only right? Once you and Maura are together, you can take care of her 24/7, you won't need my permission for every little thing, wouldn't that be wonderful? Wonderful? Jason's voice cracked louder, startling Mom, Dad, and Maura. Willa, I know you're mad that I look after your sister, but she's your family. I do it for you, what's wrong with that? I was even more confused. But you never make me feel like I have a boyfriend. I can't sense any boyfriend in my life. So what's wrong with handing you over to Maura? Jason stood there, stunned. Maybe in that instant a reel of memories flashed through his mind. The time acute gastroenteritis landed me in the ER and I called him for the deposit. He'd turned his phone off because Maura had a mild cold. The weekend we'd planned to hike, he left me alone on the mountain because Maura couldn't find her pills. The afternoon I begged him to rush me a critical contract. He drove 2 hours to a bakery for her custom birthday cake, so the file reached my boss late. I lost a huge deal, and my bonus was docked for 6 straight months. Incident after incident had already emptied me of any hope. And when I poured out my grievances to Mom and Dad, they still sided with my sister. What was left for me to expect? I stepped past Jason and looked at Mom, Dad, and Maura. I've given Maura everything she's ever wanted. If she still wants something, I suppose it's my kidney? It's fine, I can give her that too, if she wants it. Mom finally panicked. Sweetheart, what nonsense. A kidney isn't something you just hand over. What happens to you afterward? A vicious glint flashed through Maura's eyes. biting her lip, she stared at me, tears brimming. Willa, how could you think I'd want that? I smiled, turned, and walked away. Once I'd left home and cut contact with my parents, I tasted a freedom I'd never known. No matter what I did, they'd always decided I fell short of Maura, talent, poise, everything. But without their disapproving filter, coworkers and friends said I seemed reborn. Only then did I realize how long I'd lived under the pressure Maura loaded on me and the control my parents wielded. Even my boyfriend had never stood on my side. I gradually shaped the life I wanted, and people began to notice me. Adrian Zhang, CEO of the boutique branding firm, was the perfect gentleman. One stormy day he found me delivering files and gave me a ride. We chatted all the way, and when he stopped at my building I discovered Jason had been waiting outside, eyes bloodshot. Watching me step out of the car, he sneered, "Willa, who the hell is that man? We never broke up, and you're already cheating on me?" Adrian, curious, lowered his window. Mortified, I pulled Jason aside. "Have you lost it?" "I spelled it out that day, Maura wants you, take him." "Wasn't that crystal clear?" I never agreed. Jason roared. "Willa, do you have to be this heartless? I've told you 100 times, what's between your sister and me isn't what you think." His explanations only fed my irritation. "Jason, if nothing's going on, why didn't you refuse the moment Maura said she liked you?" His face drained, he stood speechless. "From the instant Maura wedged herself between us, you tilted the scale toward her, just like my parents. I asked you to deliver a file, you were with Maura. I was sick, you were with Maura. You promised a trip, you ended up with Maura. So tell me, Jason, what exactly is your relationship with her?" His complexion went white, he tried to speak, but I shook him off. "This ends here, Jason. Not just you, Mom, Dad, Leo, Maura, everything you've done has driven me away. Well, I'm gone, thanks to Maura. You should all be celebrating, right?" After that, Jason seemed to vanish. I buried myself in work, and forgot all of them. By retaining several major clients, I earned the boss's praise, and 2 promotions in a row. I now had my own corner office and, instead of running in circles, plenty of time to invest in myself. When Leo finally sought me out, a whole year had slipped by. "Big sis, we're still your family, every holiday you used to come home. Why not this year?" Leo was in my corner office, pouring out grievances. "Mom and Dad haven't really smiled in ages. Your room's been made up, but every time Mom walks in she bursts into tears." I gave Leo a cool glance and kept typing. "And Dad, he was in the hospital recently, calling your name in his sleep. Second sister, I know you're furious, but we're still your flesh and blood. You can't cut that away, right? Plus Maura, she's given back everything she ever took from you. When are you coming home?" I said nothing, just worked. Leo finally snapped, eyes rimmed red. "Say something, Willa." I lifted my gaze to this grown-up Leo. Once he'd been a tiny bundled kid who, when I was bullied, would stand beside me bruised and silent, never crying. But somewhere along the way the person he protected stopped being me and became Maura. Every other sentence was, "You're not as good as Maura," or "You don't deserve to be my big sister." I looked away. "Go home. Tell Mom and Dad I'll meet every legal duty of support, but emotional comfort? Sorry, I'm fresh out. If they need feelings, ask Maura. She can supply far more than I ever could." I had my assistant escort Leo out. My heart didn't stir once. All the old bitterness and despair were past tense. I would never again be the one who tucked everyone inside her heart and forgot her own. 2 years later, I got married to Adrian. In his words, he'd been coveting me for a long, long time. At first he was hooked by how fiercely I worked. After that he discovered the train wreck of my birth family. Adrian's folks, though, were textbook functional. The first time I met my mother-in-law her sunny optimism infected me. She didn't try to control me like Eleanor, she dragged me off to do fun stuff. Even my father-in-law brings home treats for us every time he steps out. And Adrian's little sister clings to me daily for snacks and hauls me to every family gathering, shielding me the whole time. This is what a whole family feels like. I didn't invite my parents to the wedding, yet somehow Maura found out. She barged into the ceremony tent, shouting that I was unfilial, marrying while my parents still lived. My in-laws showed her the door. Adrian held my hand and said he'd stand beside me no matter what. I haven't seen Maura since. The next time I heard of her, I'd already had a darling daughter who either cooed mommy around my legs or pestered daddy for science bedtime stories. Adrian was spoon-feeding her when a stranger's text popped up on his phone. I opened it. Maura. Adrian, can you lend me some money? I'm practically your wife's big sister, same family. Help me out? I'm desperate. I read her earlier messages with detached curiosity. Same old tune. Life is hard. Willa stole everything. Jealousy blah blah. Adrian never replied, not once. Why didn't you answer? I asked, waving the phone. By then he was a full-time daughter addict. After a dismissive glance he turned back to our girl. Reply and give her another shot at hurting you? I keep the thread only as evidence, just in case she ever tries again. Warmth flashed through me. The person who truly loves you carries you in their heart, not for your own good while favoring someone else. Mom and Dad never got that, but I no longer care. Another year passed, my daughter started preschool. One afternoon while picking her up I spotted my parents walking Maura along the street. Their eyes lit up when they saw me. Mom, Dad, I nodded in greeting. Mom smiled, yet her gaze was hollow. You married without telling us. Now there's a grandchild and we weren't there to help, not a word. I smiled faintly. Compared with me and the baby, I believe Maura needs your care more, right, Mom and Dad? Dad opened his mouth, but I was already turning away. The sunset was perfect, my daughter's shadow and mine stretched along the curb, speckled by drifting ginkgo leaves, like a beautiful painting. My little girl's life hasn't even begun. Mine, on the other hand, has only just started. Thank you for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you liked the video, please like and share with friends. We look forward to your comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories. See you next time.
The night before the wedding, Julian's ex-girlfriend asked him if he could hold her one more time. Everyone awkwardly looked at me. Julian, unfazed, pressed her to his chest. I had trailed after him for 3 years, so he felt invincible, certain I couldn't live without him. Therefore, when I started to leave, he said carelessly, "The wedding's tomorrow. She'll still come crawling back." He seemed to have forgotten. I was never a whipped dog who let him trample me. And he was not the sole heir to the Sterling throne. On the eve of the ceremony, Julian's friends threw him a final bachelor party. Spurred by the rowdy crowd, a barely clad young girl clamped an orange slice between her teeth and lunged toward him. Amid the cheers, Julian caught the orange, then passed it to another woman's mouth. Right in front of me, his fiancée, without the slightest scruple. I huddled in the corner of the private lounge, watching him, heir to Sterling, command the room. The Knight family may be new money, but in his eyes were nothing but flashy upstarts. Only because our liquidity can plug the Sterling's deficit did his mother bestow me the privilege of attendance. To trail my fiancé through his knightly conquests, then exercise my lawful wife's right to haul him home intact. Expressionless, I curled deeper into the sofa, until an uninvited voice cut through. "When did you turn into this? You're guzzling like a fish. Why isn't your wife stopping you?" Bella, misty-eyed, shoved aside the half-dressed girls, drawing shrill protests. Julian's grin was wild, enjoying Bella's pout. Dylan sneered. "My wife doesn't mind. Who are you to care?" She froze, glanced at me as if I were irrelevant, then lifted a glass with a smile uglier than tears. "Fine, my mistake for still caring. Don't forget, I nursed your stomach back to health. Even if you hate me now, don't destroy yourself with alcohol." Julian looked contemptuous, but his fists clenched white. I sighed. The killing power of a first love is terrifying. Sensing his flicker of concern, Bella softened her voice. "Julian, I came only to wish you happiness. I won't attend tomorrow. Just for tonight, for the last time. Can you hold me again?" Her eyes were red, her glances at me barbed, yet her tone was humble, impossible to scold. The room fell so quiet that the only sound was my phone game, Gold Miner, blasting virtual rocks. I wasn't truly calm, but everyone knew Bella's place in Julian's heart. They were a vintage soap opera. She fled, he chased, repeat. Yet Bella wasn't as steadfast as Julian imagined. The moment she heard Sterling was bleeding cash, she bolted. The very night Mrs. Sterling found her, she wrapped herself around another man in a bar and married him the next day. She became the unattainable moon in Julian's sky, absent until my engagement announcement dragged her back. I saw her calculus. The crowd saw it. Julian saw it clearest of all. But clarity doesn't equal sobriety. He'd rather blame his mother than admit his moon had eclipsed herself. In the suffocating hush, Julian yanked Bella into his arms. Veins roped his hands. His spine curved as though guarding the one treasure he could never own. Bella collapsed against him. "Don't marry her. You know I'm living in hell. So, please don't abandon me." Provoked to my face, I finally lifted my head. When our eyes met, Julian's face was charcoal. I didn't know what he waited for me to say. The old plea that he cut all ties with his ex, or permission for one last fling before the vows. We were business people playing a merger. Let's not make it personal. I chose the latter in a heartbeat. As I lowered my gaze to resume mining digital gold, I heard Julian grind out, half fury, half plea. "Serena, if you beg me, I'll do whatever you want." Beg like the past 3 years of begging for crumbs of dignity? A flare of manic anger blazed inside me. Julian seemed to have forgotten. In a relationship, besides groveling or negotiating as equals, there is another option. Like aiming my phone, snapping their intimate embrace, thumb hovering over send. It's called blackmail. Julian laughed, eyes cold, as if I were a stranger. "You think I care? Give your family's projects an extra point of margin, and both sets of parents will tell you to look the other way." I laughed back. "True. You've ground my face into the carpet for years. When did you ever care? But your indifference doesn't extend to Miss Shaw. I could forward this to Mr. Shaw at Xavier. Bet he'd love to know what his wife is up to." One sentence and Bella's face paper white. That year she fell into Xavier's arms in a nightclub. He'd just lost his wife. Bella's 5-point resemblance hoisted her up that money tree. She thought pregnancy would lock in the Mrs. title. But within 6 months Xavier was collecting new mistresses who looked even more like his dead spouse, each more ruthless than she. Childless now, if Bella surfaced in a clench with her ex, any hope of sun-based promotion would implode. The Mrs. Shaw throne itself would shake. Her lips trembled. She tried to shove Julian off, but he only imprisoned her tighter. "Serena, I can't let her go. That's my problem." "Why torture her? You're not Mrs. Sterling yet. Drop the holier-than-thou act. Apologize to her." "I won't repeat myself." Julian's threats never change. He banks on my neediness. I chuckled and pointed at the married woman in his arms. "Shall I vacate the fiancé seat for her, then?" "Oh, wait. Sterling rules won't let a mistress sit there." Bella knew it too. Her small face drained of blood as she sobbed, nearly fainting. "Julian and I were first. I'm not the other woman." Before anyone reacted, Julian strode over and slapped me so hard my head snapped sideways. His eyes were the same frozen venom as the day our parents announced the engagement, when he warned me, "You're just a merger pawn. Bella is my only love. Stay in your lane. Remember, your family survives only because we allow it." 3 years ago, those words pinned me behind the yellow tape he painted. I emerged as fiancé only to chase off his leftovers, never daring to curb his debauchery. I trailed him like a loyal joke, the laughingstock of his entire circle. But Julian. Then the night stock was low, reliant on sterling contracts. My parents would have knelt for this marriage. In 3 short years the market shifted, our revenues soared, and cooperation became reciprocity. Sterling still leads, yet one harsh sentence no longer makes me tremble. I touched my left cheek, the burning sting slowly spread across my face. Julian's a loose cannon, but I really hadn't expected him to slap me for Bella's sake. I hooked the corner of my mouth, tapped the chat screen a few times, turned and walked out of the private lounge. Behind me I could hear Julian's friends coaxing him carefully. "Quinn, the princess really left." Julian's voice was irritatingly calm. "The wedding's tomorrow. She'll come crawling back. That seats her sooner or later. What more does she have to be unhappy about?" I reached the curb. The early autumn wind already carried a chill. I pulled my coat tighter and saw the message Mom had sent. After she heard how outrageous Julian had been tonight, she'd offered plenty of comforting words. Even when I told her, "Mom, he hit me, it hurts," she'd gone quiet for a moment, circled around the topic, and the gist was still that I should be sensible and keep the 2 families on good terms. After all, we still have dealings with the Sterling family. Men, most of them are like that. Every woman goes through it. In her mind, my greatest use as a daughter was to shore up the family's resources and status. So what did a little grievance matter? She'd gone through the same. I was a transaction she'd plotted for years, just as she herself had once been merchandise priced by others. Maybe there was a sliver of real affection, but it weighed less than her face saving now. I'd seen it coming, yet disappointment still stung. I tossed the phone into my bag, looked up at the street corner. The man in the indigo trench coat seemed to have waited a while. He pressed a chilled bottle gently to my face, rolled it back and forth, then said softly, "Julian's always been like that, spoiled rotten since childhood, every shiny toy placed in his palm, so he never treasures anything. But if you stay with him you'll have a secure, comfortable life, unlike me. I'll never be the Sterling family's first choice. Walking with me definitely won't be the easiest road. Have you thought it through? Do you really want to pick me?" Adrian's voice was husky, his bright eyes gentle and deep, and even though this was entirely to his advantage, he still kindly laid everything out for me. He is Julian's half-brother by the same father. His mother died giving birth to him. His father, claiming the child needs a mother, quickly married Julian's mother. Mrs. Sterling was lukewarm to him at first, until the day she discovered the photo of Adrian's birth mother locked in her husband's safe. The same straight bridge of the nose, the same lively eyes. Place the two photos side by side and even she might mistake them. This world is basically one giant substitute novel trope. From then on, Adrian became a thorn in Mrs. Sterling's flesh, especially when Adrian's business talent emerged while Julian, crown prince in name, kept making costly blunders. The stark contrast, shareholder pressure, board complaints, drove the thorn deeper. Mrs. Sterling refused to vent her rage on her precious son, so Adrian bore the brunt. During the height of her suppression, he'd been sidelined at the company, escaped to a bar to drown his sorrows, and happened to run into me, fresh from catching Julian cheating and kicked out of the same booth. One of us disgraced, the other disillusioned. Looking back, we were clearly a match made in heaven. I hooked my arm through his. His body stiffened for a second, then I pointed at the metallic billboard on the street. Our reflections were joined, perfectly matched. "Adrian, I don't want to be merchandise sacrificed to business, and you don't want to spend your life under that brain-dead kid's thumb, right? Julian's so arrogant he still thinks I'm hopelessly in love with him. You're the better bet. Mutual profit, no feelings involved. My pledge of loyalty is the $4 billion fund my family can park with you tomorrow, so don't you dare let me down." Adrian shifted, pulling me into his arm, and laughed low. "No feelings involved?" A flicker of regret in his tone made me pause, but there was no opening to ask. "Serena, if you choose me, I don't need any pledge of loyalty. But thank you. In return, tomorrow I'll send you a gift, deal?" Adrian took me to the small downtown apartment he'd bought himself. Through the window I could see the Sterling Group billboard and the top-floor CEO windows blazing with light. The warmth of the room let the alcohol hit me, and boldness surged for no reason. I flopped onto his bed without ceremony. "I'm testing the bed in our future bridal suite, mind?" Adrian finished a quick rinse and stepped out of the bathroom. "Not at all, but I sincerely recommend a sheet mask or you'll regret it tomorrow. After all, tomorrow you're the absolute leading lady who has to outshine everyone." All the way home I kept pressing him about what he was secretly planning for the next day. But Adrian's lips were sealed. He refused to give even a hint, driving me crazy with curiosity. It was late night now, and Adrian was reshaping my idea of his temperament. He seemed tireless. He brought a basin of warm water and cleanser, washed my face as if this were my regular spa, then applied a sheet mask and gently massaged my temples with his fingers. My phone buzzed several times, Julian sending half-hearted apologies. "Bella was drunk and talking nonsense tonight. Don't take it to heart." The Sterling heir believed that one softened sentence should earn anyone's forgiveness. Irritated, I deleted his crap and powered the phone off. For 20-plus years my life had been crammed first with grueling coursework, then with the shackles of a corporate marriage. During the 3 years bound to Julian, I'd never been myself for a single second. Every minute I'd been on guard against my so-called fiancé, turning me into the laughingstock center of some ugly media circus. This world is unfair to women. When your man cheats, the press prints your name in block headlines first, turning you into dinner table punchlines. Adrian's appearance was the first time I felt someone shared my illness, and it let me breathe. His hand was still in my hair. I squinted sneakily at him, but when his face loomed close my heartbeat stuttered. He was too near. I could count his lashes, see the tip of his nose. Warm breath brushed my forehead, pure intimacy. If this were a spa, he'd definitely count as the dodgy kind of masseur. "Adrian, What I really wanted to say was, if the arranged marriage had been to you, how wonderful, maybe I'd have truly fallen for you. But I swallowed it. His footing in the Sterling family was even shakier than mine in the Knight family. He had zero say. I didn't want to jab at his sore spot, so face flaming, I managed only, "You're really good looking. When we go get our license, could you try not to outshine me?" When I woke, a thin blanket smelling of his signature mint still covered me. I watched the wall clock tick minute by minute, anxiety ratcheting higher. Swapping in a last-minute groom. It was such a crazy idea. Why would Adrian cooperate willingly? Would everything go smoothly? Would the Sterlings agree? Yet he acted unconcerned, unwrapped a silk scarf from a drawer, knotted it at my throat, took my hand and walked me out. He delivered me to the wedding venue, then left to negotiate with the Sterlings. My stomach churned, but I still went through the motions and put on the wedding gown. I lost track of time until Julian, immaculately dressed, appeared outside the bridal room. It was the first time he'd seen me in a wedding dress. Guilt already lined his brow, and now all layered on top. Maybe Mrs. Sterling had warned him to treat me with basic respect. He stood behind me, voice measured. "Serena, I drank too much yesterday, but from now on we'll be married. I'll give you all the face you need." The guilt in his tone made it obvious he'd spent the night with Bella. Face, always face. Among the elites, as long as the facade is maintained, you can ignore the stinking facts under that thin veil. "Oh, Julian, spare me. You may not believe it, but I truly don't give a damn." He frowned, but maybe because a scrap of guilt still clung to him, he refrained from knocking me down another peg, something he rarely did. He tried to move closer. I motioned the makeup artist to usher him out. Once again that wounded, soulful look slid over his face, and before he left he stammered. "Serena, believe it or not, she and I didn't go all the way last night." Kissing, holding, none of it counted as all the way to him. He said it as naturally as if stopping short meant his Sterling Guy badge was still intact. Ridiculous. Perhaps he hadn't seen the new Adrian yet. Someone with an agenda had duplicated the bar's security footage, and the silhouettes of him and Bella glued together in a doorway were already twitching the paparazzi's antennae. Once the paps know, half the social circuit knows, and Bella's husband most certainly will not let it slide. So I can practically foretell her next move. She'll come back, stake everything, and snatch Julian away. Whatever the cost. My phone vibrated like crazy. Hoth, as expected. "The wedding gown you're wearing was the one Emery picked out for me back then. Did you know?" Bella's taunting texts poured in, relentless, and suddenly I understood what sort of surprise Adrian had prepared for me. The corners of my mouth lifted in spite of myself. "Julian, your bright future or your white moonlight? Which will you choose?" When the wedding march sounded and the guests were seated, I was in my train gown, ready to walk to the center of the ballroom. Then the scheduled accident arrived right on cue, and I finally exhaled. Even if the ceremony had to be suspended, I didn't want to recite a lifetime vow to Julian. Too ill-omened. Bella, also in a wedding gown, burst through the crowd and shouted toward the stage. "Emery, I missed you once out of cowardice. I don't want to miss you a second time." She was right. The gown fit her better, as though it had been measured for her alone. Only, the tight bodice revealed a slight swell at her abdomen. She thrust her belly forward like a battle flag. "Our baby is 13 weeks along. Even if the Sterlings don't want me, do you not want your own flesh and blood?" I stood frozen. I hadn't expected Bella to be pregnant. These past 3 years I'd never hoped Julian would love me, nor deluded myself he'd stay faithful. But I did assume he'd manage the basic courtesy and arranged marriage demands. Absurd, isn't it? The minimum line for a dynastic match isn't fidelity. It's don't produce a love child. He couldn't even clear that low bar. I straightened my spine, walked up to Julian, and slapped him with every ounce of strength in me. "Julian, letting you off with just one slap is my bargain of the day. Bella is still Mrs. Shaw, after all. If this scandal blows up only after Julian and I marry, both the already declining Sterlings and my own family will take a hit." How dared he? My bridesmaids, sheltered heiresses whose families do business with mine, have sharp tongues. One of them curled her lip and blurted, 13 weeks and already showing? She's smuggling a throw pillow. Plenty of social climbers out there. Every trick in the book. Don't be sad, sis." The girls didn't bother lowering their voices for the Sterling clan. Julian's face darkened by the second, hearing his long idealized moon described as a gold digger, and by people he couldn't afford to offend. Imagine the taste of that. "Serena, I'll give you an explanation." "I didn't." "Didn't what? You dare claim you didn't sleep with her?" "Going to wait until the tabloids print the bedroom shots." "But she wasn't supposed to get pregnant." This time she really went too far. Julian's sentence hung unfinished. Seeing his hesitation, Bella flung a thick stack of lab printouts sky high. gasps rippled through the crowd. So what if she pads her skirt? So what if she overacts? The test printouts prove she's 13 weeks pregnant, and the new hotel door footage of her and Julian is already racing through paparazzi forums. Julian's complexion drained to white. He couldn't force out a word. 13 weeks. That was exactly when Julian and I announced our engagement. Unable to let go of his first love, Julian. Unable to forget how he once pampered her, Bella. They lost no time reuniting and rolling into bed. Murmurs swelled into an uproar. Mrs. Sterling swayed, clutching the edge of a chair, then hurled a water glass at Bella. Maybe the sight reminded Julian of how Bella had once suffered under his mother's venom. Instinctively, he leapt down and shielded her in front of everyone. Again, he ground my face into the dust. "Emery, do you even know what you're doing?" Mrs. Sterling's shriek sliced through the air, jerking Julian back to his senses. Belatedly, he loosened his arms around Bella. Too late. From the instant Bella appeared in a wedding gown, the press had exploded. Outside, paparazzi like hyenas aimed their long lenses, ready to sniff an even bigger scoop. Julian's footing inside Sterling Group was already shaky. He held on only thanks to his parents' support and the Knight family's backing. After Bella's scene today, forget promotion to CEO. Even his executive VP seat might be yanked. I spotted my own mother below, the woman who always told me to yield, clutching Mrs. Sterling's sleeve, her usually flawless face flushed scarlet. She was trembling, perhaps remembering her own wedding, when the yacht tryst between her groom and a waitress became headline sleaze and, though the papers were later gagged, still circulated as drawing room gossip in every lady's luncheon. Across the distance she stared at me, tears sliding down, shaping my childhood nickname with soundless lips, looking heartbroken. This time I couldn't tell whether the tears were for me or for Face. I pinched my thigh hard, forced tears to my eyes, and, under every camera's gaze, collapsed in a faint into waiting arms. I was the unquestioned victim, carried from the scene to the Westside Hospital. Though the Sterlings tried to lock the story down, a handful of blurry photos and long audio clips still slipped past the barricades. Soon the entire city knew. While everyone speculated whether the Knight and Sterling camps would turn on each other, I sat up in my ward and announced to news cameras. "Thank you all for your concern. As my parents' daughter, grateful for their years of raising me, I will not let momentary grievance sabotage their careful plans. I believe Uncle and Aunt Sterling will give us a proper account. The Knight-Sterling business entanglements stretch back decades. Status may shift, but the ventures can't be ripped apart without both sides bleeding flesh." As the Knight heiress and the wronged bride, exhausted yet still insisting on putting family first, I looked touching enough to wring tears from any spectator. My parents visited several times. Of course they saw through my little manipulations, but they said nothing. With my hidden nudges, public sympathy catapulted the Knight name to the top of every feed, and the commentary stayed positive, helpful for the share price. The beneficiaries never object. That was the lesson I learned from my kid brother. On a breezy, sun-filled afternoon, my mother smoothed a stray lock of my hair, pressed the family register into my hand, and spoke reluctantly. "Serena, I've thought it through. This gilded life isn't all it's cracked up to be. If you're not happy, even if you decide not to marry." I cut her off. "Don't worry, Mom. The Sterlings don't have a daughter. You're not going to make your precious son sell his ass, are you?" Even I startled myself when those words came out. I thought my heart had stilled, but resentment still crept into my voice. She froze for a second, then met my calm, glass-like eyes. "To secure my little brother's place at home, you were always going to sacrifice me, weren't you?" She dodged my stare, said nothing, and walked out. The door swung open, and she ran straight into the suitable explanation waiting outside. Adrian came in with flowers, nodded to my mother, sunlight pouring over him like warm honey. He looked exhausted, hair unstyled, placed the bouquet on my nightstand and started peeling an apple. "Thanks, Adrian, but I really hate apples. You saw my mom bring them, right? She doesn't know I can't eat them." "Sorry, Serena." "It's okay. You're the last person who needs to apologize to me." Silence stretched. I studied his tired face. "Long day." His shoulders twitched, then he admitted, a little shy, "Kinda. I remembered you joked that on the day we signed the license I shouldn't look better than you. So I stayed up on purpose." He laid his family register on the blanket and pulled out a ring. "Serena, even if this is a partnership, you deserve a real proposal. Serena, thank you for choosing me when I had nothing. If I'm allowed to overlap with your life, it will be the honor of mine." He lowered himself, kissed my hand, didn't force the ring on. A plain band already circled his own left finger. He was happily caught. He unfolded what I'd assumed was a prenup. Adrian voluntarily transfers 10% of Sterling shares to Serena before marriage. It's not much yet, but everything I have is yours. If Eleanor overheard, she'd choke. 10% of a listed giant is monstrous for an individual. After 20 years of scheming, she holds only 3. Tears slipped free. I'd pretended indifference so long that when someone actually offered his heart, I couldn't feign numbness. Yes, my fingers trembled as I slid the diamond onto my left ring finger. Perfect fit. Made for me. No more hand-me-downs. Serena, what are you doing? The door burst open again. Julian stood there, white as chalk, clutching apples. Adrian didn't even turn. He simply smiled, satisfied, as the diamond settled. It suits you. Custom made. No one will ever wave a copy in your face again. Still without turning, Adrian drove the knife deeper. No, about Bella's wedding gown. I can explain. She took my phone, contacted the designer herself. I never. His excuse was too flimsy, and I no longer cared. Since the fiasco, Jordan had confined Julian. The scandal had blindsided Sterling. Without Adrian's emergency lockdown of the press, the fallout would have been atomic. Julian was suspended and exiled. Adrian, the hero, slid straight into his chair. Performance spoke louder than blood. The promotion was what everyone, except Eleanor, wanted. I heard she screamed at Jordan. He's just a bastard. Why help him instead of your own son? Jordan's answer was ice. Shut up. Compared to little Adrian, Julian is the bastard in my eyes. If you didn't have Adrian's mother's eyes, you'd never have married in. You can hide how Adrian's mother died for a while, but not forever. I've been more than fair to you and your son. Eleanor crumpled to the floor. Game over. She'd visited my hospital room a few times. I obligingly fainted in front of the reporters, fueling fresh headlines. Julian's appearance today, escape or Eleanor's last card, didn't matter. I'd already given him 3 years. He blew it. Adrian and I filed the marriage license in broad daylight. In the photos I smiled like a weight had lifted. The formal ceremony is set for early spring, time to boost Sterling's New Year product launch. With the Knight $4 billion fund behind it, I'm squeezing every cent of publicity value. As long as the share price climbs with the sales, I'll be the happiest woman alive. Every time we discuss details, we talk over each other until he gives me the kicked puppy look. Do you actually prefer Julian's wedding to mine? Shut up, Adrian. Don't be ridiculous. We ended up reviewing guest lists till dawn, both sporting panda eyes the next day. Days sprint by. The closer the wedding, the less real it feels, joy threaded with panic. I like Adrian more every day. The more I like him, the more I fear it. The more I fear, the more I want to bolt. I bolted to my therapist. She told me to try accepting kindness, to let myself enjoy the ride. Formation and collapse of relationships are both natural. Your joy isn't guilty, your grief isn't criminal. After my brother was born, love vanished overnight. I once woke him by crunching an apple. A whip lashed my back. When I cried, Mom slapped me silent. Don't wake him. Since then I've hidden affection, terrified of loving a mirage and waking on a high wire above an abyss. Yet with Adrian there's no tightrope. Before I know it, laughter blooms on my face. I pour energy into daily moments instead of rehearsing our future collapse. Tonight the studio sent the wedding shoot gallery. I chose a few and hit post, my first forced step. Phone pressed to my chest, heart hammering. Seconds later Adrian uploaded 9 shots, every frame me. I expected Julian might storm the comments. I didn't expect Bella to beat him to my door. After Adrian and I registered, I moved into his downtown loft. Almost no one knows the address. Yet the morning after my post, Bella traced some chain of acquaintances and camped outside all day. At 8:30 p.m., I came home with Friday night fried chicken and found her blocking the entry. The once proud Bella dropped to her knees, begging me to spare her, claiming Julian wouldn't stop tormenting her while I stayed angry. You loved Emery, right? He's crazy for you now. Why chain yourself to a man you don't love? Emery says if you come back he'll send me and my child to England for life. Please have mercy, save me. I stared at her monologue, fury flaring. How dare she say I don't love Adrian? My eyes turned a shade more pitying as I looked down at her. A powerless girl who'd clawed her way into this circle with everything she had. Pity. She'd banged on the gilded gate for years and still hadn't seen the truth. How many times had I fumed in those years? And had Julian ever, even once, truly taken my side? He was only venting his latest frustrations on Bella, who had nothing left to lose. Besides, why on earth would I, Serena, take back a man who had already betrayed me? I let a mocking smile bloom, then spoke to Bella. I'm nothing like you. I've got zero interest in a man who's cheated on me. But you don't have to hang on to him. I, Serena, can ship you off to England, and if I feel like it, you'll stay there for good. Interested? Bella choked on my offer, stammering but producing no real answer. Cat got your tongue? Or are you scared you'll really never come back from England? I. Her belly was already heavy. She waddled as she fled, teetering like a top running out of spin. A textbook route. On my wedding day, I wore a diamond solitaire no one else on earth possessed, and a one-of-a-kind wedding gown. I'd told the designer to sew in a hidden pocket, so I could keep working from my phone right up to the ceremony. The result, instant comedy. The groom, tears streaming, leaned in for the kiss. The bride, meanwhile, had just learned our product was selling like crazy. I was grinning so hard he couldn't find a lip hold. When the pastor asked the second time, "Do you take?" "Oh, yes." Dark clouds rolled across Julian's face. He blocked our faces with the bouquet and bit my lower lip hard enough to leave a mark. The beach ceremony stayed simple, no stuffy ballroom, and afterward guests drifted onto the private sand. Bodyguards ringed the shore 3 deep. No random stranger could crash the scene. Xavier of Shaw Construction showed up, trading small talk with us. Beside him clung a new girl who looked even more like his late wife, blinking big innocent eyes and tucking her arm through his. All harmless on the surface, except she'd quietly funneled money to make Bella's life in England hell, nearly dumping the pregnant woman in the slums. The timing of Bella's pregnancy was murky, and the girl dreaded the baby might carry Xavier's name, so she tormented Bella nonstop. As for Julian, who'd sworn Bella would live like royalty in England, he merely looked the other way. He wasn't stupid enough to offend a woman who might become Xavier's next bride for the sake of a mistress. Julian stalked over, drink in hand, eyes fixed on my swollen lip, his own expression unreadable. I downed my champagne without shame, and he finally deflated like a punctured balloon, offering a self-mocking smile. "Serena, it's sister-in-law to you." Adrian cut in, voice like steel, and Julian's polite mask nearly cracked in half. "If Bella hadn't ruined our last ceremony, we'd be together now, wouldn't we?" His eyes reddened, almost convincing me he loved me to the bone. "Does it matter? Your pain isn't about love, it's about cocky Julian suddenly losing both me and Bella in one swoop. Stop faking heartbreak." But I swear I was ready. Once we married, I'd have quit everything and stayed faithful. I snorted. Faithful? Meaning a tucked-away mistress in England, or anywhere I can't see. While we play happy family? He drew a long breath and looked painfully sincere. Believe me or not, I was drunk that one time, I used protection, and that baby isn't mine. Oh! When Julian stumbled off, hollow-eyed, Adrian slipped an arm around me and whispered, half jealous, half proud. "You know none of that could have happened, right? I found Bella, I leaked their video to the press, and as long as I'm breathing he'll never finish that wedding. Sterling's security is legendary. Without me, Bella would have been stopped at the gate. So, wife, you mad I wrecked your wedding to Julian?" I clinked my glass against his and pinched his cheek. Not a bit. After all, the night Julian met Bella, I poked a few extra holes in every condom in his box. Exactly, 2 villains carved from the same dark wood. Adrian, I feel the same. I've been planning this for ages. Side story, Adrian, falling for her. Even now that we're married, everyone seems convinced Serena and I are doomed, including Serena herself. At a cocktail reception, a clutch of executives fawned over me, slipping a hotel keycard into my palm. On the back, a scarlet lipstick print, invitation impossible to misread. Serena didn't bat an eye. She kept chatting with her PA, and the casual tilt of her head stung worse than jealousy. She probably doesn't realize my feelings took root years ago. Back then she visited the Sterling estate with her parents. At dinner they treated her like a bargaining chip on a mahogany board. Her eyes were brilliant, half glacier, half wildfire, and she stood unbent, stubborn grass thriving in poisoned soil. I don't know what love at first sight is supposed to feel like. By the time I noticed, my pulse had already sprinted ahead. Only later did I learn she had a brother 10 years younger. Lazy, average, and still the family heir because of an accident of gender. Even a time traveler from the Qing dynasty would call that feudal. My father and my stepmother scorned the knights as upstarts too new for Julian, so they shoved me forward instead. Stepmother's smile dripped sweet venom. She thought sticking me with a nouveau riche bride would be an exquisite insult. She never guessed I'd be dizzy with joy on the inside, though joy made me careless. Somehow Julian read my face and badgered his mother until the engagement shifted to him. For 3 years I watched Serena trail after him, humiliated again and again, my heart in shards I had to swallow. I hovered at the perfect distance, climbing every ladder I could find, praying the day would come when she could choose me. The climb paid off. I located Sunny, 8 years younger, Bella's mirror image, and delivered her to Xavier, praising his undying love for his late wife. Then I handed Bella the time and place of the Sterling Night wedding. By then Xavier had already tired of Bella. The moment she got the details, she ran sobbing to Julian. When Serena's text, "Let's cooperate," lit my screen, I nearly wrapped my Lamborghini around a lamppost. I fanned my feathers like a peacock, desperate to show her every weapon I owned. The day I proposed, she asked why I looked so drained. Panicked, I stammered that on license day the groom mustn't outshine the bride. Lamest excuse ever. I hadn't slept a wink. The butler caught me rehearsing vows on the balcony, and I cracked my head on a planter in the scramble. None of that mattered, because she said yes. She whispered she'd been scheming, too. She doesn't know all the miles I crossed toward her when she wasn't looking. Back at the reception, I return the hotel keycard, then corner our PA. "Blacklist those lectures," I tell her. The earnest kid delivers the classic line. "Jordan, I haven't seen Ms. Knight smile that murderous smile since she bankrupted the Wong Group last autumn." I promise her a raise and ask her to sing my praises whenever Serena's within earshot. My wife's a workaholic. She spends more daylight with the PA than with me. Turns out Serena is already planning retaliation against the boys who slipped me the card. So she does care. Once again, I'm the happiest man alive. Thanks for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate our saga? If you enjoyed it, hit like and share it with a friend. We're dying to read your comments, drop them below. And remember to subscribe so you won't miss the next chapter. See you soon.